is an essay called Fire that I wrote pretty much exactly 1 year after the original date of 9/11 went into our modern history. I'm going to read an excerpt from the middle portion. It's about when a chimney sweep comes to the first new house that I lived in up here in Cold Spring, and they being on the roof and looking at the world from up there, and looking up the shaft and thinking about building the first fire and if the chimney would draw the smoke out. And then there's a jar of ashes and bone on the mantelpiece, and those are the remains of my mother-in-law, who died just a few days after 9/11, and that brought me down there during those weeks. And this excerpt is from when I'm in the apartment the day she died. We're waiting for the coroner, and some policemen who'd been down there at the site were with us. The two policemen who had come to keep watch with her were so tired they kept dropping their huge flashlights as they fell asleep in the canvas chairs. They'd been going 18 hours. They had that damn ash on them, like the gray tire tracks left by the fire trucks that returned to their stations. It was a long wait. They were both very tall, divorced, played banjo together, and have always gone by the precinct nickname, the Twin Towers. They really didn't want to talk. I pressed against this new barricade until their silence broke. Death after death, standing in the street at the base, the white waterfall, each of them alive only because they rolled under trucks on trained instinct. The ones that stood next to them didn't, and disappeared. This was their first moment of rest, and still there was no thought. Their heavy flashlights clatter to the floor again. They are too big for these directors' chairs, and there is nothing we can offer them except questions, compassion. Hours later, the coroner arrived, apologizing quietly for being so late. "You understand," he whispered. He was clearly overwhelmed, and we smiled at him and his mute assistant to let him know we understood. I followed them into the little bedroom with a perfect view of the billowing smoke from the bed where an old mother waited under a blanket. I watched how carefully he shifted her body into the bag so that nothing was revealed, as if he was just clearing the bed of sheets and quilts. The little photographs of my daughter smiled at her from the vanity mirror, all the stages of her young life taped to the glass, ending here. I asked for a look just before they zipped the bag shut, to be sure, because no family had seen her, just a tiny lump under the blanket, as if someone had kicked the covers off quickly. It was her, Grandma Rosa, as my 6-year-old daughter called her, and she was dead. The expression on her face, one that burns through every floor of forgetfulness until it etches in at the back of your skull, never to fade until they bury it with you. Outside, the smoke rose straight up. The policemen sealed the apartment, and we wrestled the gurney into the corridor, stood it up in the elevator for her last ride down, the tenants scurrying into their apartments at the site, leaving their New York Times on the mat, as if such news had leapt off the pages and was about to come knocking. Outside on the street, I helped them lift her into the van and watched it drive away, the conclusion of an ordinary delivery. Except that everywhere, people were just lighting candles, thousands of them, cupping them from the wind and offering the light to others. Kitchen staff clad in white, glowing like angels in doorways. Up 6th Avenue and down to where the smoke climbed, rose of fragile light.